They was hating on the kid, that's fine. I'ma make a movie out these niggas one time. Don't you worry about the time it took. Just know that the bullets in the magazine enough to paint a comic book. Niggas all kinda shook. Round here, niggas bear enough arms and get compared to an octopus. Check out the pages of my comic book. Cannons get hand drawn. Ain't nothing sketchy when you plot the jokes. A burning flame in this comic book. Everything could change. I turn the page in this comic. Hey yo, my city riding. In a day of flower blossom when the sun fade. Every night it turn to Gotham, Batman and Robin. Not the heroes, but it happens when the op gets spotted. They whoop your ass and pat your pockets. Marvelous, everything real. Bitch, I never lied. Magneto lifting my arms to let the metal fly. All black Nina, call it black woman storm. But it rained on you niggas, don't get caught up in the storm. Don't you worry about the time it took. Just know that the bullets in the magazine enough to paint a comic book. Niggas all kinda shook. Round here, niggas bear enough arms and get compared to an octopus. Check out the pages of my comic book. Cannons get hand drawn. Ain't nothing sketchy when you plot the jokes. A burning flame in this comic book. Everything could change. I turn the page in this comic book. I'm not Peter Parker, so why do niggas think I hang with them? When every time they around, my spidey sense tangling. Bodies on ice for trying to be dead cool. Bodies in the water, that's how you make a dead pool. I bring carnage to these niggas, be an idiot. Dressed in all black, kinda looking like the symbiote. No matter if these niggas hating on me, I will never be a character erased from the story. Don't you worry about the time it took. Just know that the bullets in the magazine enough to paint a comic book. Niggas all kinda shook. Round here, niggas bear enough arms and get compared to an octopus. Check out the pages of my comic book. Cannons get hand drawn. Ain't nothing sketchy when you plot the jokes. A burning flame in this comic book. Everything could change. I turn the page in this comic book.
Copyright disclaimer. Under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976, allowance is made for fair use for purpose such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statutes that might otherwise be infringing. Non-profit, educational, or personal use tips in the balance of the favor of fair use. Breaking news. I figured, what the hell? Why wait? When stuff comes across your desk, people need to know, because I swear we are in a remake of the movie Spy Games. Because I swear we're being punked. I have never in my life. Wait, let me tell you this story, all right? This story came out, and giving credit to the New York Times. The headline is, Young Aides Emerge as Enforcers in Musk's Broadside Against Government. Much of the billionaire's handiwork, gaining access to internal systems and asking employees to justify their jobs, is being driven by a group of engineers operating in secrecy. Are we in the movie? Are we in the movie? Elon Musk has empowered a handful of young aides in his Department of Government Efficiency to assess agencies across the federal government and dismantle the bureaucracy. Bureaucracy. Let me put your shadow president up. Oop, did I say that out loud? I didn't mean to say that out loud. Strike that. At the end of his third week, bulldozing through the federal government, Elon Musk sat down to give Vice President J.D. Vance a 90-minute briefing on his efforts to dismantle the bureaucracy. Mr. Musk was not alone. Invited to join him on Thursday morning in Mr. Vance's stately ceremonial office suite in the Eisenhower Executive Office building next to the White House were a clutch of young aides whose presence at federal agencies has served as a harbinger of the upheaval that would follow them. Across the federal government, civil servants have witnessed the sudden intrusion in the last 2 weeks of these young members of the billionaire's team, labeled the Department of Government Efficiency. As Mr. Musk traipsed through Washington, bent on disruption, these aides have emerged as his enforcers, sweeping into agency headquarters with black backpacks and ambitious marching orders. While Mr. Musk is flanked by some seasoned operatives, his dizzying blitz on the federal bureaucracy is, in practice, largely being carried out by a group of male engineers, including some recent college graduates and at least one as young as 19 years old. Unlike their 20-something peers in Washington, who are accustomed to doing the unglamorous work ordered by senior officials, these aides have been empowered to break the system. Of the roughly 40 people on the team, just under half of them have some previous ties to the billionaire, but many have little government experience, the New York Times found. This account of their background and activities is based on public records, internal government databases, and more than 20 people familiar with their roles who spoke on the condition of remaining anonymous out of fear of retaliation. Some on the Musk team are former interns at his companies. Others are executives who have served in his employ for as long as 2 decades. They all appear to have channeled his shoot first, aim later approach to reform as they have overwhelmed the bureaucracy. A 23-year-old who once used AI to decode the word purple on the ancient Greek scroll has swiftly gained entrance to at least 5 federal agencies, including the Centers of Medicare and Medicaid Services, where he has been seeking access to sensitive databases. He was part of a group that helped effectively shutter the United States Agency for Internal Development, joined by the 19-year-old, a one-time Northeastern student who was fired from a data security firm after an investigation into leaking of internal information, as Bloomberg first reported. The United States Agency of Internal Development is one of the several federal agencies that young representatives of Mr. Musk team have been tasked to root out what perceives as wasteful spending and left-wing ideology. In the past week, his aides have descended upon the education, energy, housing and urban development, health and human services, transportation, Veterans Affairs departments, along with the National Oceanic and Atmosphere Administration, the Federal Emergency Management Agency, and the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, according to people familiar with their activities. As Mr. Musk has praised his team as talented and relentless, defending its work as a crucial to rooting out what he perceives as wasteful spending and left-wing ideology in the federal government. Time to confess, he wrote on X this week. Media reports saying that at Doge has some of the world's best software engineers are in fact true. Quote, unquote, Mr. Musk. Mr. Musk did not respond to a request for comment. On Friday, today, Mr. Trump told reporters that he was very proud of the job that this group of young people, generally young people, but very smart people, they're doing. They're doing it at my insistence, he added. It would be a lot easier not to do it, but we have to take some of these things apart to find the corruption. Even at Mr. Musk's team members upended the government, their identities have been closely held, emerging only piecemeal when their new arrivals press career officials for information and access to agency systems. They are operating in highly unusual for those working in the government. Aside from those conducting classified or intelligence work, the names of public employees are not generally kept secret. Harrison Fields, a White House spokesman, said the cost-cutting team has gone through the same vetting as other federal employees, but declined to say what the vetting consisted of or whether Mr. Musk's aides have security clearances. The Times identified members of Mr. Musk's initiative through internal emails identifying their roles in interviews with employees across the government who have interacted with them. None of the Musk aides responded to court requests for comment. The secrecy Musk allies have said is necessary so the team members do not become targets. Several of Mr. Musk's aides have resisted being listed in government databases out of the fear of their names leaking out, according to people familiar with the situation. Others have worked to remove information about themselves from the internet, scrubbing resumes and social media accounts. When their names have been made public by news organizations such as Wired, they have been scrutinized by online sleuths. Mr. Musk has asserted falsely that the exposure of their roles is a crime, and X has removed some posts and issued suspensions to those who publicize their identities. One Musk aide, whose name surfaced, Marco Elise, a 25-year-old former employee of X, resigned on Thursday, according to the White House official, after the Wall Street Journal revealed that he had made racist posts on X, writing in one message that you could not pay me to marry outside of my ethnicity. Mr. Elise, a former employee at both X and XAI, Mr. Musk Artificial Intelligence Company, was one of two staff members affiliated with Mr. Musk's team who have gained access to the Treasury Department's closely held payment systems. Mr. Elise was among those who have been invited to attend Mr. Musk's meeting with the vice president before he resigned, according to the documents seen by the Times. On Friday, Mr. Musk called for the journal reporter to be fired and said he was reinstating Mr. Elise, a move that both the president and the vice president said they supported. We shouldn't reward journalists who try to destroy people, Mr. Vance posted on X. A spokesman for Mr. Vance declined to comment. Some of Mr. Musk's top advisors are more seasoned. Senior players include Brad Smith, a healthcare entrepreneur and an official during President Trump's first term; Amy Gleason, a former U.S. Digital Service official who has been helping at the Centers of Medicare and Medicaid Services; and Chris Young, a top Republican field operative whom Mr. Musk hired as a political advisor last year. Others bring intensive private sector backgrounds, including from firms like McKinsey and Morgan Stanley. Brad Smith was a healthcare official during President Trump's first term and now is counted among the top advisors to Mr. Musk. But Washington is a town where much is run by 20-somethings, and much of Mr. Musk's handiwork, gutting federal websites, demanding access to internal systems, sending late-night all-staff emails, and asking veteran employees to justify their jobs, is being executed by young aides, some of them pulling all-nighters as they burrow into agencies. Last week, young representative of Mr. Musk's team with backpacks stuffed with a half a dozen laptops and phones arrived at the headquarters of the USAID, demanding access to financial and personal records. On Friday, a dozen stayed into the night, powered by a bulk order of coffee. The next day, the agency's website went dark. At the education department alone, as many as 16 team members are listed in the employee directory, including Jen Balahagia, who was effectively served as Mr. Musk's assistant for years. At the Office of Personnel Management, the nerve center of the federal government's human resources operation, a small group of coders on Mr. Musk's team sometimes sleep in the building overnight. They survive on deliveries of pizza, Mountain Dew, Red Bull, and Doritos, working what Mr. Musk has described as 120-hour weeks. At the General Services Administration, another central hub for Mr. Musk aides, beds have been installed on the 6th floor, with a security guard keeping people from entering the area. While most senior employees wear suits, the aides favor jeans, sneakers, and t-shirts, sometimes under a blazer, with one sporting a navy blue baseball cap with the white lettering reading Doge. The culture clash is evident. Perhaps unsurprisingly, career employees who have worked for decades in the government have bristled at taking orders from young newcomers. One coder has openly referred to federal workers as dinosaurs. Some staff members at the personnel office, in turn, called the young men muskrats. As they assess the workings of the government, Mr. Musk aides have been conducting 15-minute video interviews with federal workers. Some of their questions have been pointed, such as asking employees about who they would choose to fire from their teams if they had to pick one person. At times, the aides have not turned on their cameras or given their last names, feeding suspicion. In one video interview heard by the Times, a young team representative who introduced himself by his first name said he was an advisor to government leadership and a startup founder. He pressed the interviewee to describe their contributions with the highest impact and to list any technical superpowers. It is not always clear which employees are formally part of the team. Even the head of the department, Steve Davis, a decades-long lieutenant of Mr. Musk, who has accompanied the billionaire on his meetings in Washington, has not been formally announced. Many of Mr. Musk's aides, including Mr. Davis, holds multiple roles simultaneously, working for one of the team's central hubs, the Personnel Office or the General Services Administration, while also maintaining email addresses and offices at other agencies. Luke Farritor, who won the award for using AI to decipher an ancient scroll, joined Mr. Musk's initiative after dropping out of the University of Nebraska-Lincoln to pursue a fellowship funded by the billionaire PayPal founder, Peter Thiel. I hope I said that right. Thiel. A former SpaceX intern, Mr. Farritor, in preparation to join the team, started learning COBOL, a coding language considered retrograde in Silicon Valley, but common in government. He and Rachel Riley, a former McKinsey consultant who works closely with Mr. Smith, are now both listed as employees in the Office of the Secretary at the Department of Health and Human Services. This week, they requested access to payment systems at the Medicare agency, according to the document seen by the Times. Mr. Farritor, who also has email accounts at General Services Administration, the Education Department, and the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, was at the Energy Department on Wednesday and has told others that he is getting deployed to additional agencies. He is one of about a half a dozen aides who are holed up in a corner around the GSA administrators' offices interviewing tech staffs about their work. Other figures often on hand include Ethan Schauertran and Edward Korestein, who have been accompanying a top Musk ally, Thomas Shedd, who oversees the agency's tech division. Mr. Schauertran, a 22-year-old Harvard student, was a part of the team that was the runner-up in a hackathon competition run by XAI last year. Mr. Cortisone, 19, graduated from high school in Rye, New York last year. According to a student magazine that noticed his outstanding performance on the advanced placement exams. Nowadays, he has an email address at the education department. Before joining the government, Mr. Korestein was fired in June of 2022 from an internship at PATH, an Arizona-based data security company, after an internal investigation into the leaking of proprietary company information that coincided with his tenure, the company said in a statement Friday. One Musk accolade has leaned into his new status as a Washington celebrity. Gavin Klinger, a newly minted senior advisor at the personnel office, wrote a Substack post this week titled, "Why Doge? Why I Gave Up a Seven-Figure Salary to Save America," and asked users to pay $1,000 a month subscription fee to read it. The post behind the paywall appeared to have been left intentionally blank, according to users who saw it. Mr. Klinger, 25, a software engineer, amplified a message posted on X in December by Nick Fuentes, one of the country's most prominent young white supremacists, which mocked those who celebrate their interracial families. The post was removed from Mr. Klinger's page after the Times inquired about it. He did not respond to requests for comment. Mr. Klinger and Mr. Farrator were among those who obtained access to USAID websites and tried to get into a secure area at the agency before being turned away by security last week. According to people familiar with the matter, after midnight on Monday, Mr. Klinger sent an email from USAID email account informing thousands of staff members that the agency's headquarters would be closed. On X, Mr. Klinger has defended cuts to the agency. He also responded to one person who criticized him as one of the men carrying out Musk's coup. A coup is when a duly elected president wins a democratic election and delivers on campaign promises, Mr. Klinger wrote on X on Monday. Got it? This report was contributed by Maggie Haberman, Manathias Schwartz, Edwin Wong, Erica Green, Madeline Young, Zach Montague, Christopher Favell, Andrea Durin, Brad Plummer, Kellen Browning, Eric Tola, Kitty Bennett contributed to the research. This article was in part reported in the New York Times today, or I should say on the 7th. And are we living in I can't even believe that this is happening. This article is written by Theodore Schleifer, Nicholas Nehamas, Kate Conger, and Ryan Mack on February 7th, 2025 at the New York Times. I don't understand. I don't get it. This right here is crazy work. I can't even believe that this is happening in our country. But Let me put my reminder up for everybody. Yeah. This is scary times, people. Scary times. All right, that's it. And that's all. Be well. Stay safe. Stay tuned. I will report on things that I see that are coming up that might be, well, all of it is relevant. But I'm going to try to stick to my lane. But I thought that this was very interesting. Very, very interesting. And for those who wanted this to happen, here's my message to you.
Are you crying?
No.
Are you crying? Are you crying? There's no crying. There's no crying in baseball.
Why don't you leave her alone, Jimmy?
Oh, you zip it, Doris. Rogers Hornsby was my manager, and he called me a talking pile of pig snot. And that was when my parents drove all the way down from Michigan to see me play the game. And did I cry? No. No. And you know why?
No.
Because there's no crying in baseball. There's no crying in baseball. No crying.
That's it and that's all. Don't cry now. Because this is only 3 weeks in, people. 3 weeks. We got 4 years. 4 years. And when they tell you a shadow government, this is a shadow government. All right. Let me play this disclosure one more time so I can protect my ass. Copyright disclaimer. Under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976, allowances made for fair use for purpose such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statutes that might otherwise be infringing. Non-profit, educational, or personal use tips in the balance of the favor of fair use.
Who they think they better than? Ain't no comparison to the so-called black or African American. You can drop the African, keep the American. When we say Aborigine, it make they world in. I'm going in the same dirt my ancestors buried in. I come from a god and a goddess, so what that make me? Not even Basquiat can trace me. Not even Van Gogh can paint me. The MC in me is the God in me. Equals the God in me. I'm focused in, let my mind be free. You too blind to see. The Jews I give Israel. It's been real. These ain't shots, they missiles. All you gonna hear is the whistle. Lyrically, this the execution. My verses start revolutions. From my people seeking restitution. Since the beginning, fuck evolution. Or maybe my reality is all a dream. I put it together like I was sowing seeds. So it seems this is that audio dopamine. Go against the machine. We put you where nobody can hear you scream. And sing you to meet you Elohim. My nigga, this is savage mode. It's something that you hate to go. It started with a spark and I'ma let it explode. I was given the cheat codes. Better let me dump and reload. And go through them waves like a fucking torpedo. You dealt the cards of life. I just cut them diamonds with the ace of spades. Y'all scatter like roaches when they facing raid. Or vampires when they facing blade. I'm trying to get next to terrain like I'm getting played. You still stuck as a mental slave. You still stuck in that mental cage. While I'm making easy money, pimping hoes in style. It's my coming to age. Crowd roaring when I'm coming on stage. And when I'm done, they gon' be cheering my name. Great cops, and nah, I ain't quit my day job. I spit bars. I really rap on my day off. That's real shit. Just give you some tools you can build with. Aim high, even if you still miss. Just keep going. It's a climb to the top, and I'ma keep flowing. Down Lake Shore, I'm Chicago going.